nobody wants to lose their hard-earned spot in the top 10 of Google search results. But what do you do when your rankings dive? Okay, so we're going to walk you through step by step, Mallory and I, what to do when this happens and the top causes of lost rankings, because a lot of people might make some false assumptions or some wrong assumptions, so that you can get your rankings back and have a plan instead of panicking and freaking out. So let's get into it. Also, in case you missed it, in case y'all weren't on here a week or two ago, we just put out a bunch of new SEO features and made more of our features available to members at the base level on the base carrot plan. So I'll put a link through the chat right now. If you're listening to the podcast after the fact, I'll put it in the show notes. Join us live every week at 11 a.m. Pacific in the Facebook group, where we do a Q&A afterwards, but I'll put a link in there for you. Got a lot of new SEO tools, so check those out in case you haven't seen them. Okay, so first thing, Mallory, how do we determine why our rankings are dropping?
Yeah, so this is the first step, right? If you think that you've seen a drop in rankings, it's important to try to figure out why that's occurred, because it's going to be different depending on your website, your business, and kind of your competition. And I would say your competition is often going to be one of the most common reasons, right? Because we're in business, and if things were easy, if we could just have a money tree that printed money and everything was easy, it would be golden. But that's just not the way that the world works, right? There's always going to be new competitors. There's always going to be other people learning and trying to do very similar things to us. And so we got to try to stay on top. And if we've seen a big drop in rankings, it's often going to be that either some new competitors have come into the market and they're just doing things slightly better than we are, right? And so we just got to be working harder. We got to up our game. It can also be that something in Google, the way that Google is showing the search results for that particular search phrase or search query has changed. So I would say first thing I would do, it's the first thing I would do is head to the search results themselves to try to figure out what may have changed. So I would recommend doing this in an incognito or private browser, because if you're logged into Chrome or something, that's going to be giving you search results based on what it knows about your own search history, right? So recommend doing that in an incognito browser. And look and see what else is outranking you, right? What's showing up there? Is it your competition? Also, what different types of content are showing in the search results for that particular search phrase that you're trying to rank for, right? Because maybe in the past, maybe it was primarily blog posts from different websites, but maybe they've shifted and they're starting to show more video content, for example, right? Something about what Google has decided that users want has changed potentially. So
yeah, keeping an eye on the intent is really important. Not in the short term, but in the long term. Like, these things change over the course of like 6 months to like 3 years. One example is, there's a ton of carrot specific examples, but like how to sell my house fast. Sometime in the last month or so, Google started putting PPC ads for agents, for sellers agents at the top of Google search results for that term. That didn't used to be a thing. And I'm pretty sure that spawned out of the settlement recently, out of the NAR settlement, where, it's like everybody wants seller leads now. Every agent was focusing on seller leads. So that's kind of interesting. So I don't know if that's going to change the intent, but yeah.
Yeah, things like that, different trends, news can change. Like if something new happens that has a similar, idea to what the original search phrase is, that can change. One of my favorite SEO conspiracy theories is about why the movie Frozen was created by Disney, because there was this old idea that Walt Disney, had himself cryogenically frozen after death. And so there's a conspiracy theory that maybe Disney, the company, actually created the movie Frozen to try to hide those original search results. I don't know if that's true, but that's just an example.
Find it on page 57 of Google search results. Yeah, it's true though. Intent does change over time. So what else we got? So we got people working harder than us. So we'll get into this in a little bit. Maybe once we start taking questions, we'll show some examples of, what makes, why somebody might be outranking you, and what we can share. You and I could share some examples of ways you can one-up people, like easy little tweaks you can make. But you got regular fluctuations, and then lots of non-unique content. Let's talk about this, because this, for people who have This is for people who have established websites, maybe had a website up for a while, been with Carrot for a long time, and posted a lot of content. Talk about this.
Yeah, so this is one thing that potentially people have used some of our tools like our content library and not taken our guidance to make it unique to you, right? We offer a lot of templated content on our websites and in our automated content library and even in our niche authority builder tool, but that content serves as like a base. You still need to personalize it, add your own expertise, make it unique to your business, maybe add some stories of how you've helped people with that specific topic or problem, right? Make it unique to your specific area, because otherwise there's going to be other Carrot members that could potentially have exactly the same content, right? And that's not good. Google doesn't like duplicate content. They don't like, plagiarize content across multiple sites. And so that's why we always recommend making sure to take that content and then make it at least 30 to 50% unique. And we have the built-in AI rewrite tool now that can help make that a lot
Yeah.
easier, but you still want to add, some of your own original ideas to it if possible, right? Share those case
Yeah.
studies to help build credibility about how you help people with that.
Testimonials, local images, little stories of transactions you've done, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the good, better, best model. I won't break it down, but like that's how you can create good content with the automated content library, making it unique, editing it. The best version would be, okay, you're going to do a video on the topic and a fully robust blog post on the topic, pair them together and really go after it. But
Yeah. And we
yeah.
do have a really great tutorial on our help center that's specifically about that good, better, best content with
Mm,
regards to our content library. So check that out because it'll give some breakdown of exactly like how you can do that good, better, best model.
yeah. Sweet. JB Jackson, 123 Soul Cash. I see your comments in here. We'll keep popping them in. We'll talk about them when we get to the Q&A section. So thanks for chiming in. We'll dig into it. So last thing on determining why your real estate SEO rankings are slipping, Google penalize your site if you violated spam policies. How
Yeah. So
common
this
is it?
this is very rare, but a lot of people, they immediately jump to the conclusion of, oh, like my site's not appearing in the search results. I must have been penalized by Google. As long as you've been playing by the rules and doing everything correctly, this is very rare, but you definitely want to make sure that you are not doing what we would call black hat SEO, doing things like a lot of keyword stuffing, doing things like buying spammy backlinks to your website. Things like that could potentially get you a penalty, but if you've been penalized, you're not going to be showing up at all. More likely is that you've been pushed down further in the rankings. You're not on page one anymore if you used to be on page one. But the more likely scenario is going to be some of the stuff we already talked about, like competition has
Yeah.
increased and search intent and what Google is showing in the results has changed.
Yeah, and you're basically talking about disappearing from Google, which I don't hear from our members. I don't hear from our members that they're completely disappearing from Google. You'd have to be doing what they call black hat SEO, and we don't teach any sketchy black hat SEO. We just don't. We don't even really teach gray hat SEO. Like we're teaching tried and true methods that stand the test of time. So yeah, if you're disappearing from Google search results altogether, that's another issue you need to look into. Um, okay, so now that you know why your rankings have dropped, hopefully we've established that. Next thing to do is audit and update and make improvements to your content.
Mhm.
So let's use the example of someone's got a bunch of content on their website, got a lot of blog posts and stuff. How would you go about auditing it? Auditing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you have a website that's been around for a while, one of the first things that I like to do is kind of create a spreadsheet where I have an overview of all of my content, where I can kind of see if there's any gaps or overlaps or any content that is getting zero traffic because
Mm,
maybe it was just, not personalized, never kind of made really better than the competition, and also to see what content on my website is getting traffic, what content is performing, what content does have people reading and engaging with it, right? Because that kind of
yeah.
gives me a baseline of what's working and what can I keep improving upon and what can I kind of use as like a baseline to make other stuff better. right?
Yeah. And you said traffic. I think time on page, I mean, obviously you know this, but time on page matters too. So maybe you have a page that's not getting any traffic, like maybe your about page. Maybe people aren't Googling your name, or you're not showing up a lot in search for your company name or your name. But people are, it's still the second most visited page in your website. People are still going to that, and it should have a higher time on page. So yeah, look at the ones that are especially getting no traffic and have a really low time on page, which you can view in our tools. You know, we'll share those, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you can see all that stuff in our analytics tools. So, kind of the way I usually approach an audit when I've worked in marketing agencies and things like that is I'll start a spreadsheet, either an Excel or a simple Google Docs kind of spreadsheet, right? And make a list of all of your pages and posts. So if you're just in your Carrot dashboard, the easiest way is to just go through that whole list of all your pages and posts, make a note of all the URLs, and then make note of, you know, what's getting that traffic, what's not. Look for any of those overlaps in content where you might have two posts or pages kind of targeting the same keyword phrase. Essentially, those can compete for rankings, right? That
Yeah.
can confuse Google and readers. That's what's called keyword cannibalization. We have a whole article in our help center about that, which I actually just made some updates to this morning.
Nice.
But yeah, you know, you kind of just want to get a big picture overview of what you've got on your website. And one thing to keep an eye out too, right? If you have hundreds and hundreds of blog posts and a bunch of them are not getting any traffic, then it can sometimes be worth it to just let those go, right?
Yeah.
If you've posted stuff and you've never made any updates to it, and especially if it's not relevant to your, you know, core business strategy, if it's
Mhm.
not really honing in on some of the main ways that you help people and it's not getting traffic, then it might be worth just sort of deleting and archiving those posts. One of
Yeah.
my favorite SEOs, longtime SEOs, Rand Fishkin, who was the original founder of Moz, he made a great Whiteboard Friday video years ago. This is probably a decade ago, where he talked about cruft. So cruft is basically this idea of you've got a bunch of just junk on your
Yeah.
website that's taking up space. It's not getting any traffic. And sometimes it can be worth it just to clear that stuff out, right? It's like spring cleaning.
Yeah. Cruft. What a lovely word. Cruft just has a
Feels very
nice.
descriptive, right?
Yes, I can feel it as you're saying that. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so find out the cruft that you might have on your website. And next thing is look at what other page one rankings are doing. So that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. If somebody's outranking you, go look at their page, reverse engineer it. You could try out. I'm not saying this is a tried and true method, because ChatGPT is changing every day. But Trevor and I have been experimenting with like, take this URL, plug it in ChatGPT, and do an analysis. Like, what are some of the SEO best practices that this page is following? There might be other tools that can do that for you. But yeah, look at the things they're doing. So we've done this at Carrot with, like, maybe we had a blog post that was ranking for a while, and then it dropped to number 3 or number 4, number 5. And we went back in and saw, okay, what are the people doing that are outranking us? Well, their content's a little bit organized. Maybe ours is better written copy. It's better writing. And we have the images, but theirs is just a little bit easier to digest. And so we've gone back through and added a table of contents to the top, or something like a summary. And, we've done that to get our rankings back on some of our important blog posts.
Yeah, it's so important to look and kind of get an idea of what is showing up in those search results and to understand the search intent of the people who are looking at those results, right?
Yeah,
Because that's
exactly.
why Google is shifting those things. And that's why you might see a shift in they're showing more, sponsored ads, or maybe they're showing video content where they were showing blog post content 2 years ago, right? People have decided they've made it clear to Google that they'd rather watch a video about whatever the topic is, perhaps. You can also,
Yeah.
in the search results, see the people also asked
Yeah.
questions, right? Which can be another great place to see maybe where your existing content has some gaps, some other things that you could address in that content to improve it. If people are asking similar related questions to that topic, you might just want to beef up your existing blog post or page and answer some of those questions directly in your content.
I'm so glad you said that, because the old school way of thinking about SEO is, okay, people are asking this question. There's this one keyword. How can I create a piece of content and cram that one question or keyword into it as many times as possible? That's not the goal. You want to approach it holistically and say, how can I answer all their questions related to, maybe not all, but how can I answer the questions closely related to the main question that they're asking? Because they're going to go down that research rabbit hole and think, oh, well, what about this? What about this? So,
Yeah,
mm,
and so these topics, this is what we might call topic clusters, which is a
yeah.
big part of our blog content SEO strategy. And this is not just our original idea. This is like proven throughout, the digital marketing and SEO industry. If you look on our help center, we have an article about blog content SEO strategy where it kind of lays this out. But this is the foundation of why we created our niche authority builder. So basically, what the niche authority builder does and what these topic clusters do is you go deep on one main niche topic page, kind of answering the deep questions about one topic. And then you create supporting blog posts that kind of get into some of the more granular related questions, but then you're interlinking each of them together. So you're creating this authority around certain topics and ideas on your website. And
Yeah.
it's that interlinking between them that really helps Google understand that these posts and concepts are related to each other and that you know about those topics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a good question. Mike has a question on that, which we'll answer in just a little bit here about internal linking. I think that's what he's asking at a glance. But yeah, let's keep rolling through it, and then we'll get to the Q&A shortly. So yeah, audit your content, look at what other page one rankings are doing, write additional unique content. We talked about that. Your content needs to be unique. Add rich media to enhance posts. So images with alt text. What are some of the suggestions you have there?
So, basically take a look at your existing content and try to step back outside of your own business and think about it critically through the eyes of just a random visitor stumbling upon your page, right?
Yeah.
Is it just a big wall of text? Do you have headers that are kind of breaking up that text and making it easier to read what's on the page, right?
Mhm.
Headers are really important for on page SEO because they can be other places that you can include similar keyword phrases that are about the same topic, but you're saying
Yeah.
them in a different way, like synonyms of your main keyword phrase, right? But it also helps both Google and real people kind of understand the page, and it helps them read it, and it breaks up the content. But images can do that as well. Relevant images, right? When we upload images, we always want to add alt text, which is alternative text, basically describing what is seen in the image, which is important not only for SEO, but primarily for accessibility for people who are visually impaired and are using screen readers to know what's in that image.
Yeah.
And then finally, I would say, especially for content where maybe you've dropped a little bit, but you're still showing up on page one, but you're trying to get back to the top of page one, or especially for where we see the search results are starting to show more video content and maybe we don't have any video content. This could be an opportunity to take an existing topic that's on your poster page and create video content around that. Embed that video content in the blog post, right? But you'll also hopefully have that video content living on YouTube, which is owned
Mhm.
by Google, which is a
Yep.
search engine in and of itself. And it kind of works together to help snowball some of that. But that video also just provides another way for users to understand the content in a different format.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking with Brad Woodall recently. He's going to be coming on our podcast pretty soon. I'm going to interview him on some of the things he's doing on his website and with SEO. But he's leaning more into probate. Brad, you might be on here watching this, so hopefully I don't spoil any of your secrets. But he's creating video content on probate and kind of creating, he'll do a video on this certain topic around probate and then link it up with a blog post. And so it just they work off of each other. They compound on each other.
Absolutely.
Um, okay, so that's step 2. We got 5 steps. So we got, okay, you figured out why your rankings are slipping. Step 2 is audit and update your content. Step 3 out of 5, fix broken links and look for internal linking opportunities. What's your advice on this?
Yeah. So I touched on this a little bit when I was talking about our niche authority builder tool and the blog content strategy and those topic clusters, right? Part of why that's so powerful is the internal linking.
Yeah.
So there are two kinds of links essentially when it comes to SEO. There's internal linking where we're linking to other pages on our website. And then there is external links. So that's when we want backlinks from
Your
other
backlinks.
websites, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about backlinks right now. But internal linking is really important. So the thing that I like to explain this with is if you think about Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Wikipedia is a perfect example of the power of internal linking. If you've ever gone to any Wikipedia page, it links to so many other related Wikipedia pages about other
Yeah.
subtopics, right? And it's
Also,
all
it
sort
wouldn't
of,
be any fun if it didn't link up.
yeah, that's how
Yeah.
you can spend hours on suddenly you've gone down a
Oh, yeah.
Wikipedia rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So you want to think about your website in a similar way, right? Not just linking randomly to things, but
Right.
if you are creating a new piece of content, a new blog post, for example, think about how it relates to existing content on your website and
Right.
link out to this. So I mentioned our help center, right? That's a big part of what I've been working on since I've started here at Carrot. And this is something I'm always trying to do in our help center is if I'm updating a help center tutorial about one thing and it's related to certain features or tools or other topics, I want to link those articles back and forth to help you, our members, understand how to learn more about that specific
Right.
kind of related thing, right?
Yeah. So in other words, like don't people get hung up on internal linking as thinking of it as this technical thing, like, oh, I need to do more internal linking, I need more internal links. It's a user experience thing. It's a helpfulness thing. So when you're going through your content, think, okay, what is in here that might trigger someone to want to dive deeper into a certain topic? Or what other questions might they have? How else can I solve all these problems and questions with other pieces of content? That's why internal linking is a thing. The same
Yeah.
way when you're on Wikipedia and you find out, okay, here's this band I'm looking at on Wikipedia. Oh, this lead singer, when did he leave? I want to know more about this guy. And then I click on the article for this lead singer of the band, and then 4 hours goes by. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why more and more we really recommend using our niche authority builder tool. This is a newer feature, and
Yeah.
we built that with this topic cluster and internal linking strategy in mind.
Yeah.
Right. You still want to make any of those content pieces your own, but it helps to automate a lot of that internal linking for you. So you don't have to think about it as much and do it all
Yeah.
manually. Right. But
It's
you
a lot
can
of
do all this
minutia.
manually too. Yeah.
Yeah, to try and strategize 5 different blog posts and then think about how you're gonna link them together and what copy you're gonna use. So a lot of that's
Yeah.
done for you.
Yeah, and if you're new to this too, even just using that, if you want to later do it manually, using our niche authority builder helps you understand that strategy better, right? You can kind of see it in action, and then if you want to replicate it for a completely different topic, you could kind of replicate it that way.
Yeah. Sweet. So look for broken links. So use the site audit tool that we released. So go in there, find what errors are popping up, and check them out. If you have any issues, fix them. We talked about that. I think it was two weeks ago. You and I shared kind of how to prioritize those different issues and what to fix. Anyways, step 4: organize your content. So you want to touch on? We kind of talked about this a little bit, but anything else to touch on around keyword cannibalization and topic clusters?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this some. I would say kind of taking it back to that like kind of spreadsheet thing if you're doing this audit, right, of all the
Yeah.
content you have, or if you're starting new, right? Say that you're coming in and starting new and you're like, this is a lot. So if you're starting fresh, think about it from your homepage out. So step 1 is work on your homepage. Make sure that your homepage is optimized around the main idea, the main
Yeah.
topic, the main keyword phrases that are related to the core of your business. Right. So it's going to depending on, your own business. Every business is different. But start with that. And then you want to work on your location pages. And if you're a home services business like HVAC or roofing, you might also have service pages, right? But your location and or service pages, those are going to be your other main ways and places that you're trying to attract people, the main ways you help people, the main places that you're trying to attract those leads from, right?
Mm.
So you want to optimize those. So if it's a motivated seller site like Sell My House Fast Cleveland, if your homepage is optimized around Sell My House Fast Ohio, for example, right?
I know Tony's on here. I know he's watching. I think you're Cleveland,
Uh,
Tony. I think he's on.
Shout out to Tony.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah. So once you've done that, then you're thinking about your more niche topics, your blog content. You're thinking about those niche authority builder topics, right? Or any other topics that you want to do that kind of dive deeper. So making sure that as you continue to build out your content tree, as it were, you're not creating stuff that is kind of talking about the same thing as anything you've created in the past, right?
Yeah,
So
that
that's the
makes sense.
gist of it. Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about how to organize your content. The last thing, get your citations in order. So off-page SEO, which we have some questions we'll address in a minute about this. But yeah, what do you have to say on that?
Yeah. So everything we've been talking about so far mostly falls under the umbrella of on-page SEO. So for anybody new, I just want to on-page SEO is basically all of the stuff that you can change in terms of content and other behind the scenes stuff. A lot of the stuff is what Carrot takes care of for you. All of the stuff that's on your website itself, all the stuff that you can directly control on your website. And then off page SEO is all of the stuff that's somewhere else pointing back to your website, right?
Yeah.
So citations, things like Google My Business, Yelp, any sort of directory listings, that's kind of the foundation in terms of off page SEO. That's your bread and butter when it comes to off page SEO. And then there's also building other kinds of backlinks. I've also recently updated our whole tutorial about this in our help center recently with a lot of guidance because I know we get a lot of questions about how do you build backlinks. It can be always easier said than done. It's, building backlinks is a whole
Yeah.
big part that ties into a lot of other marketing strategies, including press and publicity for your business. But I like to have people focus on the citations and making sure that all that stuff's in order because that's stuff that is a lot easier for you to take care of, especially at first. So
Yeah.
make sure that you got your Google My Business all set up. Try to get those good reviews for that. Because that's one thing, right? If you and another competitor have very similar content on your website, that's where that off-page SEO really, really starts to come in. If you have no Google My Business listing and your competitor has a robust Google My Business listing with 100 great reviews, they have a 5-star rating and it links back to their website, who do you think Google's going to show at the top of the search results?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Um, there's one other thing I want to mention, and then we'll kind of wrap it up and recap this. So we talked about earlier how one of the most common causes is people just outworking you. Someone's just doing a little bit more attention to detail. Maybe their content's better, or maybe they're doing more optimization to it. Um, One thing we didn't talk about is um, offline demand affecting rankings. And so sometimes people will ask like, okay, how do you have a Carrot website that's in my market and they're not updating a lot and they're still ranking, like they're just stuck at number one for whatever, sell my house fast, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I talked with one of our members, Jeremy Resmer. We had him on our Carrot Summit this last June. And he's like, honestly, I haven't done a lot to my Carrot site over the last few years. I'm like, holy cow. And he said, I am now. I got an SEO guy and we're building backlinks and I've recognized I got a little bit complacent because I was ranking for so long. But here's the difference. Jeremy has a healthy TV budget. So he's running a lot of TV ads in his local market, and he's also doing a lot of direct mail. So TV ads help you rank higher in Google. Pay attention to that. TV ads can help you rank higher in Google. I just want everyone to wrap their heads around that. And this matters because people see Jeremy's TV ads, they see the company name, they see the website, and they go to Google and they search for it. When you have a bunch of people at scale trying to find you online, your specific company name or your name, Google is going to prioritize that because Google cares about the user experience and people finding what they're actually looking for instead of just who's trying to do the best SEO. And so if Google sees someone searching for them, they're going to prioritize that website more in search results.
Absolutely. This was one of the big things that came out during the Google leak, which happened earlier this summer. It's basically that, yeah, having that strong brand recognition driving searches for your brand, whether it's via TV ads or other ways, right? There's lots of ways
Yeah.
that people can have more
Yeah.
brand awareness and be searching for your brand. But TV ads is definitely one of them, right? It could
Yeah.
be getting press and publicity. It could be lots of things, but creating that brand awareness so that people are searching for you specifically, it's all that snowball effect. All of this, SEO is one piece of a marketing strategy,
Yeah.
right?
It could be radio ads too. I know that some of our investors are running radio ads, but even like, I've talked with people at the news review, our news station down the street from us, and it's crazy how many people are still listening to radio stations at scale and even AM radio, like buying ads on AM radio. It's insane. And so, you hear a radio ad, there's no link to click on a radio ad. So you're going to go to Google and search for it. So you're creating a lot of demand. Anyways, that's just wildly interesting, and something you can't ignore if somebody's outranking you. There might be things that are harder to see or that you can't see that they're doing. Okay, so look at it from a holistic point of building a brand.
Absolutely.
Anyways, sweet. So just to wrap it up, then we'll go into the Q&A. Number 1, determine why your rankings drop. Number 2, audit and update your content. Put a little bit more attention to detail than the person who's currently outranking you. Number 3, use our site audit tool. Use our tools to find any issues on your site and what pages, what posts are not getting traffic or are not having a lot of time on page. Just audit your content, find out what content is not helping you. Number 4, organize your content. Okay. Pay attention to the topic clusters you have. Number 5, get your citations in order. Off-page SEO, like backlinks, it does matter, and it matters all in the context of who you're trying to outrank and what you're trying to rank for, how competitive it is. So hopefully that's helpful. That's the end of the audio podcast portion for anyone who's listening after the fact. But right now we're live in the Facebook group. We're going to go into the coaching call, do a Q&A, answer some of these great questions that are popping up. But anyone listening, join us at 11 a.m. Pacific every week in the Facebook group. Trevor will be back with us next week, and every time I do that, I blank on what the heck the topic is for next week. We're doing how to get SEO leads from niche keywords, like really niche specific phrases that people are closing deals from. So that's going to be a good one. Anyways, join us there. Check out the new SEO tools we've put out if you haven't seen them already, and we'll see you later. Cool. All right, let's do this. We've got some good questions in here. Let's see. I think we already addressed this. I'll just pick a couple easy ones. Mike Wall said, can you tell me if linking your website into your blogs helps your website with backlinks? I don't see that any of those backlinks ever show up in Ahrefs. So yeah, Mike, those are internal links and they're not backlinks. Backlinks are what Mallory described as your off-page SEO. Internal linking is not going to show up as a backlink within Carrot or Ahrefs.
But they're still important and they still help you.
Exactly. So that whole thing on user experience. Yeah.
Basically, they help. Here's another way of thinking about internal links and external links, right? It's like all of those links are roads between different pages, whether they're pages on your own website or other websites are linking back to you, right?
Yep.
So it's like if you're building, a new town, you need to make sure that people have ways within your own website or new town to get to the other pages, to get to the stores and facilities. And you need to make sure that that new town has roads coming into it from the rest of the state, which is the backlinks.
Yeah, and Google cares about that user experience. So in the Google leak, we've talked about this before, but we found out that Google pays a lot of attention to time on page. And so you have internal links, people are spending more time on that page and more time on your website overall. They're staying on your website, they're consuming more. And so that's going to help you. That's going to influence. Let's see. Tony, it's got a good question. Can you talk about the frequency we should be blogging on Bigger Pockets and doing update on our Google My Business pages to help our ranking? So we've kind of got 3 questions in one, Tony. This is a good question, but all 3 different things. So Mallory, I'd like your opinion on this, but Google Business pages, to me, it's the same thing. It's a little bit more than the next guy. So most people are not posting anything to their Google My Business or their Google Business pages. I mean, even just doing like once a month or once a week, taking a blog that you have and doing a little snippet about it on your Google business profile, or taking a story from like a testimonial and elaborating that in a Google business profile post would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that concept of a little bit more than the next guy is a good kind of general guidance, right? Because it's going to depend all of these things. So I would think if you're talking about after you've gotten the original Google My Business, like the citation information set up, you've taken care of that, and we're talking about posting updates. So I would think of that piece of it kind of similar to how you might think of other social media platforms. And so this is where it comes into your overall marketing strategy. It's going to be different for every business, right? Because it depends on a lot of
Yeah.
factors. It depends on the competition. It depends on your business goals. It also depends on your bandwidth and your resources, right? Are you handling all the marketing for your business? Do you have a marketing team, right? Because that depends on all of that.
Yeah.
So I would think of that kind of posting on Google My Business similar to social media posting, if you're doing that, which you may or may not be. But if the other guy next to you is not doing it at all, yeah, maybe once a month or something, right? Post some sort of update, and you might be able to tie that in with some of the content that you're sharing on your blog post, on your website. I
Yeah.
always like to think of how does all of the content and the helpful information that I'm sharing anywhere, how can I repurpose that, as much as possible instead of reinventing the wheel? The beauty of evergreen content that is useful for people for a long time, is that you can continue to share it, is that people can continue to use it, and find value in it, right? So you could take a little snippet from one of those blog posts, one of those helpful niche pages, and post that on your Google My Business, and maybe at the same time post to your Facebook page if you're updating that, right? And just that once a month, at
Yeah.
least you've got that piece of content, and you just kind of take a piece of it, repurpose it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And post things that are, I mean, this might be assumed, but post things that are going to be helpful for your prospect, that are educational, or little stories or testimonials, either educational or inspiring. What you don't want to do is the mom and pop local business down the street. I feel bad the way to say that. I'm just like trashing local businesses. I'm not. I love local business, but I'll see local businesses be like, oh, someone told me I need to post on social media. And so St. Patty's Day rolls around and they're like, happy St. Patty's Day from XYZ photography. And I'm going to post that on my Google business profile. That's not the goal. So I don't know. I'm not saying never do that, but if you're just like posting about the holidays and current events because you feel like there needs to be something, there's not substance there. It's not doing you
Yeah,
any
I
good.
mean, if you're posting like a lot, and you're seeing engagement from your audience when you post that kind of stuff, that's one thing. But if that's the only thing you're posting, yeah, I would say focus on what's actually helpful to the people you want to attract and do business with.
Yeah. The thing is, Google wants to see that you're an active business and you still have people coming to you. It's like if they see a restaurant on Google Maps that hasn't had a review in 6 months, or hasn't posted anything or made any menu updates in 6 months, versus a similar restaurant close by in comparison with getting reviews and doing a couple posts about like, hey, we have this special, come check it out. They're probably going to show up higher in search because they're
Yeah.
more active. It's like they
Yeah,
exist.
and with Google My Business, part of it too is when you get those reviews, responding, thanking people for leaving a good
Well,
review,
yeah.
or if you get a negative review, responding and making sure that you're addressing the situation, right?
Huge. Absolutely huge. Yeah, I've heard of people using I don't know, I shouldn't even get into it, but like Chat GPT and like complex coding to figure out ways to build a little bit of automation into replying to reviews. A little dangerous, but I've heard about that. Not saying to recommend, just people are getting creative with AI. But yeah,
Mhm.
respond to your reviews. I don't want to open that can of worms. Okay. Too bad I already did. Another question, and then maybe if we have time, we'll share some examples of some of the things we talked about. Can I link other websites post to my blog as long as they are related, or I have to ask their permission first? You don't. Really confused about this. You don't. They're going to thank you because you just gave them a backlink.
Yeah, if you're linking out to reference, so if you're providing basically a backlink to somebody else and you're referencing that page as another resource for somebody to learn more and it's relevant, then yeah, that's kind of good mojo in terms of SEO for somebody else, right? You
Yeah.
don't want to take somebody's content and copy it and plagiarize them, right? I think you can do a brief quote and link and cite them as the original source. I think that's generally fine.
Yeah, so if you have a blog post about probate and maybe in this blog post it's like how to sell your house in probate, and maybe there's a section in there about finding a good probate attorney, like connecting you with a good probate attorney. Maybe you have an attorney, or maybe there's a website with a list of probate attorneys in your area. Maybe link out to that attorney. That attorney is going to thank you because helping their website, and it's useful for the person reading it. That's the thing.
You know what? And in that case, I would actually take it one step further. So attorneys, especially a lot of big law firms, they invest a lot in SEO. So if you have a probate lawyer that you already know you like to work with, you want to link out to them, I would reach out to them and try to see if you could get a link back to your site somehow, because I
Yes.
guarantee you, if they're any sort of big law firm, they have an SEO team and they will understand the value of backlinks.
Absolutely. We talked about that in the backlinks episode Trevor and I did a little while back. Is like one of the easiest ways to get backlinks is just swaps like that. Um, what other websites do you own that you put a backlink on? Maybe on the about page at the bottom of like, friends of ours or our partner websites, and then the people that that would be happy to give you a backlink.
Yeah. Yeah. As
So
long as
that's
it's
easy.
relevant. Yeah. Keep it relevant. But yeah, that's great.
All right, keep the questions coming. We're gonna zip through them. I love the engagement here. Thanks for chiming in. Let's answer Rosangela 123 sold cash, and then I see a couple more. Mike and Maria, I see you guys. 123 sold cash. Can you tell me why some pages go back and forth? One month they're indexed, and the next month they're not indexed. I don't know.
So, okay. So Google, the rankings fluctuate. They're always changing their algorithm. They're always adjusting their algorithm. They're not like completely overhauling it overnight or anything, but they're always making tiny tweaks. And so this is why we get these big Google algorithm update announcements about twice a year, right? We had a big one that just rolled out in August. We posted a video kind of explaining some of the major changes that happened with that one. And so part of it is that rankings fluctuate. That's normal. If you're seeing minor ups and downs, that's just going to happen. That's part of doing business on the internet in the 21st century,
Yeah.
right? As far as seeing things, indexed or not indexed, another piece of this is that as the internet continues to grow, there is so much content, right? And AI has only made this situation even bigger, right? There's just so many pages and posts on the web. And literally, Google does not have the resources to index all of them. Because probably a lot of them, like we were talking about, with when you're really taking that critical eye and looking at your content, there's a lot of posts and pages throughout the internet that are just spam. They're not useful. There's a lot of other stuff that's much better, more robust, more helpful content.
Mhm.
And so if you're seeing pages on your site that aren't getting indexed, maybe you've submitted the sitemap to Google Search Console and done all of the correct things to try to get it indexed. That's when you should really take a critical eye and make sure that the content on those pages is useful and is at least as good or better than what is showing up in the search results for that keyword phrase or topic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like we talked about earlier, I would say make sure it's answering the other questions related to the main question or the keyword, and not just maybe it's not keyword stuffed about just one keyword or one
Yeah.
topic.
And so one other thing that I would add to this too, in terms of maybe you've made all of those adjustments, you've done all the things that we just talked about, you kind of went through, made that page more robust, more helpful, all that stuff. Doing things like using some of those social media signals, right? If you have a Facebook page, sharing that helpful blog post that you just updated as it is helpful to your, ideal clients, your leads, your prospects, sharing it elsewhere, whether it's social media or getting a link from somebody, that can help kind of force index it, right? It's sending traffic back to that post or page, and that's another thing that you can do, assuming the content's good, to try to send some traffic to it. That's going to help send a signal to Google that they should index it.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, Tony, I realized, Tony, I did you a disservice. I didn't finish answering the other parts of your question, and then I'll address the other ones. So, Tony, you were asking about should we be blogging on or posting on Bigger Pockets? I would not be. I don't know if Bigger Pockets, when you post in there, if you were to post a URL, if it would count it as a follow or a no follow link. I really don't know. But your prospects aren't hanging out on Bigger Pockets. So I would not be spending time there. I don't see any benefit to sharing on Bigger Pockets outside of just like networking and
Well, and it's
talking to
kind of
people.
it kind of ties into what we were talking about with social media, right? I wouldn't
Yeah.
be spending the time to create like original content for that. Same, but if you're as part of your kind of social media sharing cadence, if you're posting something to your Facebook page, maybe you want to pop it on your Bigger Pockets account. I think that could make sense, but I wouldn't spend the time to create new content for it.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you were asking this, Tony, but how often should we be blogging in general? If that's one of the questions, like if you're thinking about how much do I need to create original, unique content, set a simple goal for yourself around maybe once a month, create a like a unique blog post if you want to start writing and trying to create. They call it in the SEO world link bait, like content that is just really juicy, really original, unique on a certain topic. It's so helpful that other people will want to link out to it. Maybe set a goal for like one of those posts a month, on topics that you're an expert in. Okay. Um, yeah, so hopefully that answers that. Rosangela, let us know if that's helpful, or if you have any other questions, feel free to pipe it in, or definitely talk with our team through chat too afterwards. Um, let's see. Maria had a follow-up question to her question on uh, backlinks. So if you're giving someone a backlink, does that affect yours? No, it doesn't. It's not going to hurt you. I wouldn't be linking out to a competitor's site.
Yeah. Well, and also
But,
don't be linking out to like obviously like spammy or malicious. Don't link out to sites that seem very like sketchy that you wouldn't want to refer a relative to, right? You don't want to send your
yeah,
mom to some sketchy website, right? Don't link out to that.
yeah, sweet. 123 Soulcast. Los Angeles said all good. Sweet. Mike Wall, it doesn't count to post on Bigger Pockets. I've tried it. Sweet. Okay, we were right. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not doing any good. Your prospects aren't hanging out there. Let's see. Bigger Pockets. You said Bigger Pockets was an idea from the 3 lead per day training, and they said to add a link back to my site. That might be okay. We'll dig into the specifics on that and follow up, because it might have been in a different context. So maybe it says a citation, like maybe a link to your website in your profile. That could be what that
I
means.
think there might be some stuff in there if I remember right. Yeah. So yeah, kind of when you're doing your initial citation setup, kind of building out those citations in your profiles at various forums, at social media platforms, things like that. That's going to be the main thing as part of your citations.
Yeah. Thanks for calling it out there. We'll check it out and find the context there. Mike says, is there a way to create faceless videos by turning your blogs into videos using AI? There are a million tools to do it. I wouldn't recommend them. I just, maybe I'm biased. I'm a content creator who loves to do podcasts and videos. That the thing is, at the end of the day, your brand, your face, your personality, your values, that's what's going to cause someone to want to work with you. AI can't uh currently replicate that. There are even videos that can take so faceless, I would just steer away from, like faceless AI, like a generic, just a corporate looking person talking about the blog post. That's not really going to do you any good. Even if you're doing it for the SEO benefit and trying to get those videos on YouTube and linking them back to your blog posts, I
It's
just
not
wouldn't do
gonna
it.
it's not gonna help convert anybody to be a lead or a prospect or a client or a customer. It's not gonna build trust that
Yeah.
way.
And here's the thing, YouTube's most important metric when they're trying to decide what videos to show to people is engagement, is watch time. Are people watching them? So if they click on it and they're expecting something quality from a real human, and they see, oh, this is just something somebody made with AI, they're going to go right back out, and YouTube's going to say, this is not, people should not be watching this.
Yeah. So that's a big part of this whole rankings thing, right? When you see competitors beating you, a lot of times it's that they put in the work. They did the thing that nobody else was willing to do, and that's how they beat you, right? And so
Yeah.
if you're trying to take shortcuts, everybody's trying to take shortcuts. And so that's not really going to get you big gains usually.
Yeah, I would focus on I would be using AI, Mike, to help you create outlines for videos, outlines and scripts. I can create outlines and scripts for videos and podcasts all day long, and I still do. And even I'm using AI to speed up my work or to think of things I otherwise might not have thought of. So take a few blog posts that are getting traction or that you want to improve the rankings, have ChatGPT create a video outline for it and a script, and spend $100 on Amazon and get a teleprompter and record a video about it, or just do it in bullet points. But I would do that. There also are AI tools that use your face, where like I've been getting ads for these. You record yourself. Like I talk to the camera for a minute, and then it's learned how I talk and look, and then it replicates that with a video. But they're so weird. We're in this phase of like bad AI right now. Um, I use that loosely. Obviously, it's still really impressive, but like in 10 years or 5 years, 3 years, we're gonna look back and be like, whoa, that was like early internet days. That was cringy. They don't blink. That's my number one beef. They don't, the fake AI videos, the people don't blink, and their inflection is not real. It's not, the inflection is just not there. It's super weird.
Yeah, I think we have more and more people becoming really like skeptical and, hesitating to trust people because of all of these types of AI. And if you're in any kind of business, especially, real estate, or if you're doing home service businesses, people need to trust you to do those kinds of deals, to, have you buy or sell their house, to have you come into their home to work on it, right? And so the trust is really important. So I would say keep the humanity in that.
Yeah. I saw the one you type through Sathesia. I'm watching the video on their website. They're not blinking. I'm sorry, it just weirds me out. They're not blinking. They don't have inflection. It's just weird. Maybe the AI tools will get better. And sure, maybe down the road there's a use case for like little explainer videos on certain topics, maybe. But at the end of the day, they're an AI generated face is not connected to your brand. In the example I gave earlier of Jeremy Resmer, the guy in his TV ads, Adam, is his acquisitions guy who's going on every appointment. And so with AI, you don't have that magic of like, oh, you're the guy I saw on TV. You're the guy I saw on the website. You're the one who's actually going to help me. Oh, that's so cool. Or Anthony Beckham here in Roseburg, he has his YouTube videos. He's got a video about how to pros and cons of living in Roseburg. It's got like 25,000 views. That's the population of our town. Pretty much everyone, Roseburg has seen his video, and people will run into him on the street. And when they work with him, it's like, oh my gosh, you're the YouTube guy. You're that guy. And like the power that has for closing deals and winning people over is just, you can't get that with AI. So yeah.
That's so important.
100%.
That's like thinking about the entire customer journey, right? Your customer journey, your, buyer or seller journey. Like, what is the initial point at which they come to know that your company exists? And then does that experience from, interacting with you on the website or seeing your TV ad match what they're going to have when they see you in person, when they do that deal with you, right? It needs to all be consistent and cohesive.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, sweet. Any other questions? Let us know. Maybe we'll take one or two more, but we're at about time. I gotta eat some food. We gotta eat, people.
Oh, that we don't need to eat
No,
people.
We phrasing. And here I am bashing on AI. Any more questions? Let us know. We're gonna maybe share some tools and stuff, but we don't have time for that today. We'll share some next week. Did you want to share your example, Mallory, of the non-real estate example of the video?
Oh yeah, sure. So I've, been doing my own personal websites, been doing all this stuff for years. And I, as part of my personal project, started a new YouTube channel a little over a year ago, summer of 2023. But I used to sell at craft shows and art festivals and things like a decade ago. Right. And so I have a lot of content on one of my websites about craft show tips, right? Like craft show display ideas, things like that. And I have a blog post that's probably at least a decade old about that topic. Well, recently this summer, I recorded a new video with a craft show organizer about that topic. We talked all about craft show tips and display ideas, right? And so I took that new YouTube video, which was had the target keyword phrase in the title, craft show display ideas, I think is what I included in there along with some other stuff. I added that video to my existing blog post, which already got some traffic. And a month or so later, in my YouTube studio, so my YouTube analytics, I started to notice that that video was starting to get traction. It was starting to get more views, but most of that was actually coming from Google search. So the video itself was showing up in the search results when people would look for craft show display ideas. And then about a month later, so like now, I was looking at this a couple days ago, it's being shown by YouTube directly. So it's being suggested to people in YouTube. So it's kind of this snowball effect. It's like, that's how video YouTube SEO and website SEO and kind of creating this content through a holistic strategy and kind of building on stuff that's already working can really help. Oh, are we
So here
looking
it
for it
is.
right now?
Yep.
You found it?
Craft show display ideas.
Yep.
I type it in, ads, images,
That's my
videos.
video. Yeah.
Boom. There's Mallor's video right there.
Yep.
Yeah. Video is really powerful.
And
I'll
of
share
course, that
my,
video links back to the blog post. It's like it's all working together.
yeah. I'm curious what pops up for how to sell a house in probate. Interesting. Yeah, there's probably more opportunities for doing video here. I'll share my one non-real estate example just while we wait to see if there's any more questions, and then we'll bounce here. Video Husky. There's a video company we had doing some video editing for us a while back. And they had an affiliate program. So I was like, you know what? I love their product. We don't use them anymore, but I was like, I love their product. I'm going to do a review on them. So I did a video for it. I put that on YouTube, and within a couple months, it started ranking. It's this video right here. It's no longer ranking number one, but that video was getting some pretty decent traction in YouTube. And then what I did was like, you know what? I'm going to use Carrot's video post just as a test, see if I can get this to rank. I put it into video post. This is a Carrot website. This is like a personal website. I put it in here, and then I had video post do a blog post for it. Okay. And then I came in here and I tweaked the headings. And I tweaked the text to make it sound written instead of just verbal. Okay. So I took a couple hours to edit it, answered all the questions, same things we've been talking about through this whole podcast, all the questions that people would be asking, took screenshots from their website about plans and pricing, packages. Anyways, all the questions that people would ask. And then the blog post started to rank. So the blog post was actually number, like, I'd say for like 4 to 6 months, it wasn't even showing up on page one. About 6 months, I was like number 3 or number 4. And then I came in and made this tweak by adding a table of contents like we talked about. And I've been ranking number 1 for this term ever since, over the actual company, which is crazy. And I was like, shoot, it's working so well. I came in and did an updated video on it, shot that, and now that video is still ranking number 1. And so I wish that were a real estate example, but I'm an investor. But it's the proof where if you take the time to put in the care and attention to detail, see how it's easily digestible. The headings answer specific questions, your H1, your H2, your H3 tags, and it's formatted in a way that people want to consume. It's super helpful.
And
Yeah.
Brady, what you said about I wish it was a real estate example, I would actually counter that and say sometimes it can be really helpful to look outside of your industry and your direct competitors for ideas, because a lot of times everybody here, you're all getting this same, examples and advice from us, right? But if you're in a really competitive market, especially say you're in like a Dallas or something, which we all know is super competitive for, we have a lot of people trying to do business in Dallas, then go see where you might be able to innovate and get ideas from other industries, right? Like that's where innovation happens. That's how you can outrank people if you're in a super competitive market.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's good to, just get creative ideas and get the juices flowing. Sweet. Cool. All right. Well, that's all the questions for today. I had a lot of fun with this. Mallory, thanks for hopping on. Everybody else in Facebook, YouTube, thanks for hopping on. If you have any other questions that pop up afterwards, definitely put them in the comments, put them in the Facebook group. We'll still chime in. We'll help out. We're in there pretty much every day. But thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.